6, verses 1 through 8. Stand up and plead my case before the mountains. Let the hills hear what you have to say. Hear, you mountains, the Lord's accusation. Listen, you everlasting foundations of the earth. For the Lord has a case against his people. He is lodging a charge against Israel. My people, what have I done to you? How have I burdened you? Answer me. I brought you up out of Egypt and redeemed you from the land of slavery. I sent Moses to lead you, also Aaron and Miriam. My people remember what Balak king of Moab plotted, and what Balaam son of Borror answered. Remember your journey from Shittim to Gilgal, that you may know the righteous acts of the Lord. But what shall I come before the Lord, and bow down before the exalted God? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, with 10,000 rivers of olive oil? Shall I offer my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He has shown you, O Lord, what you do. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly and love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God.
Thanks for turning with me to Matthew chapter 5. The lectionary is now taking us to the Sermon on the Mount. So I would encourage you to be careful. This is dangerous stuff here, Jesus says. One of the reasons I think we avoid it. Okay? The lectionary makes us look at it at least once every 3 years. It's a powerful passage. Matthew chapter 5, beginning with verse 1. Listen to the word of God. When he saw the crowds, he went up the hill. And when he took his seat, when his disciples had gathered around him, he began to address them. And this is the teaching he gave. Blessed are those who know their need of God. The kingdom of heaven is theirs. Blessed are those that mourn, for they shall receive comfort. Blessed are those of gentle spirit, for they shall have the earth for their possession. How blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are those who show mercy, for they shall receive mercy. Blessed are those whose hearts are pure, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, God shall call him their sons and daughters. How blessed are those who suffer persecution because of righteousness. The kingdom of heaven is theirs. How blessed are you when you suffer insults and persecution, every kind of calamity for my sake. Accept it with gladness and exultation, for you have a rich reward in heaven. In the same way, they persecuted the prophets before you. And God bless the hearing and reading his holy word. Lord, open up our eyes and our hearts that through your word proclaimed, we may encounter you, the living word. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Well, I was shown a film clip the other day, a trailer for a movie, and I thought it was a joke, but it actually is a movie. It actually looked like one of those things, remember in high school you had to do a project and you put a film together? Okay. All right. Well, it's a little easier to do that now than when I was in high school, but it looked about that quality. And the opening scene is there is a priest who's hearing a confession. And this sleazy-looking guy says, I'm a drug dealer, I've done horrible things, I've been in confession for 3 years, I kill people all the time. And all of a sudden, a claw breaks through the confessional and kills the drug dealer. Or apparently kills the drug dealer. And the name of this movie is called The Lasso Pastor. What happens is, periodically, this priest turns into a dinosaur. And that's the whole theme of the movie. And it's pretty ridiculous looking. And apparently he has kung fu skills too. At one point they're having kung fu fights. So sometimes he is a dinosaur, and other times he is a bad kung fu artist. But anyway, at the final scene, the final scene, the superior comes doesn't want you to go around killing people, and the priest goes, oh, I believe there are lots of people God wants me to kill. So, I'm sure you'll go and watch that. Now, I hope that's still funny. Okay? I mean, it's really campy, it's bad. But I hope the idea that a priest or a preacher saying, I hope there are lots of people that God wants to be dead, I hope that we can still see that as irony. Sometimes I'm not so sure. You see, the church on a regular basis forgets what Jesus said. Okay? On a very regular basis, we forget that we actually are following Jesus. The Sermon on the Mount gives us an opportunity to remember what we're supposed to be about. I was not a big Seinfeld episode, but there's one episode that I've used frequently, both in training pastors and sometimes in counseling situations with people. And there was an episode where George Costanza, one of the most pathetic characters of all time, which makes him hilarious, has this revelation. And he comes back to the diner and he tells Jerry that every decision I've ever made has been wrong. My instincts are always wrong. So therefore, the opposite of what my natural inclination to do must be right. And if you remember the episode, he starts doing the opposite of what he would normally do, and he becomes remarkably successful. I've told a few people, whatever your instincts are, don't listen to them. Okay? You probably all know people like that. And yet, that may be a little bit what the kingdom of God is like. The illustration I gave of the kids, right? What if upside down is actually right? There was a wonderful book that was written, I guess it was written in the 70s or 80s, called The Upside Down Kingdom. And its whole point was, what Jesus values, what Jesus lifts up, tends to be very different than what we think. The George Costanza principle of going against your natural inclinations may have some truth about it when it comes to the Lord. You know, that's part of what I think, what would Jesus do? Remember that movement? It was well intentioned, but there's a lot of flaws to that. First of all, if you read the Gospels carefully, no one ever knew what Jesus was going to do next, right? His own people were always confused. They were confused about it. Okay? Right? He talks to sinful people. Now, that doesn't seem right. Okay? He makes the religious leaders upset. That seems not the way to go. He tells us we need to forgive, not judge. I'm not sure what he's going to do next. He lets bad people touch him, but he gets the good people all angry at him. Sermon on the Mount starts out with Beatitudes. It's always tempted to turn them into like a list of virtues. Matter of fact, the prayer of confession we use today, I chose it because it reinforces these Beatitudes. But part of what whoever wrote that prayer is playing off the idea that the Beatitudes are actually virtues. And they're not really virtues. I mean, some of them are just situations. If you're mourning, that's not a virtue. That's a reality, right? If you have bad things happening in your life, that's not something you chose to have happen. Blessed are you when you're persecuted. If you're running around looking for persecution, you've got it wrong. What the Beatitudes are kind of a series of observations. Some of them are a positioning of ourselves, right? Some of them are situations you find yourselves in. And the world and society is pretty consistent in having values that are counter to what Jesus was and is about. In the history of the church, is we more often tend to look like those around us than the way of Jesus. We tend to baptize our greed, and the greed stays. We tend to baptize our prejudices, and the prejudices stay. That's not what's supposed to happen. Beatitudes are cause to reflect. They're open-ended statements. Some of them may speak more deeply to where you are in your life right now. But Jesus is always a corrective. He's a corrective to the church. He's a corrective to ourselves. He's a corrective to the world. Now, our society says, and many Christians agree, that blessed are those who accumulate, who cheat, who expand themselves, who build their empires at the expense of others. But Jesus says, blessed are the poor in spirit. God is not impressed with the rich and the powerful. But when you recognize your need, God is there. When you need Him, when you open your heart to Him, God is present, even if the poverty remains. And yours is the kingdom of heaven. Our society says, and many Christians agree, that you're supposed to amuse and distract yourself, numb whatever pain you feel, avoid the pain of others. But Jesus says, blessed are those who mourn. In your losses, in your grief, in your pain, in your sorrow. Jesus wept as you wept, as you weep. And you shall be ultimately comforted. Our society says, and many Christians agree, that blessed are the bold, the aggressors, those who believe there's nothing you cannot do to put your mind to it, those who believe your worth is found in your achievements. But Jesus says, blessed are the meek. Blessed are you when you know your limitations. Blessed are you when you allow others to flourish. You shall inherit the earth because you will be content with what you have. Our society says, and many Christians agree, that blessed are those who hunger for power and status, for pleasure. Blessed are those who never are satisfied. But Jesus says, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness and justice, who do not rest while others are oppressed, who do not forget those who are imprisoned, those who are victims of the strong. Blessed are those who are satisfied with things that last, the things of God. Our society says, and many Christians agree, blessed are those who uphold our standards. Blessed are those who are like us. Let us judge. Let us virtue shape. Let us kick people when they are down so that we may feel better about ourselves. Let us rejoice in the misfortune of others. But Jesus says, blessed are the merciful, for they love much because they know they have been forgiven much. They remember, but for the grace of God go I. And they also recognize that actually they do go those ways. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Our society says, and many Christians agree, blessed are the liars and distorters, whose motives are always for self-gain, those who win at any cost. Jesus says, blessed are the pure in heart, those who know the truth about their own souls. For they shall see God, because they know they are not God. Our society and many Christians say, blessed are those who make a profit from war, for they are the sons of Cain. They kill their brothers. Blessed are those that demonize others. Blessed are those that hate their enemies. Blessed are those who nurse grudges. And Jesus said, blessed are the peacemakers, for they take the risk to heal what is broken. They refuse to scapegoat others. They know that all people are equally loved by God. They ultimately get to the point where they have no enemies because they know that God has no enemies. And they shall be called the children of God because in small, concrete ways they choose the path and the way of the Son of God, who gave his body to make peace with God and humanity. Peacemakers are the brothers and sisters of Jesus. Clarence Stewart, reflecting on the Sermon on the Mount, said this: even though people about us choose the path of hate and violence and warfare and greed and prejudice, we who are Christ's body must throw off these poisons and let love permeate and cleanse every tissue and cell. Nor are we to allow ourselves to become easily discouraged when love is not always obviously successful or pleasant. Love never quits. Even when an enemy has hit you on the right cheek and you've turned the other, and he's also hit that. This table represents the upside down kingdom of our Lord. The good news is that God does not look at us the way the world looks at us. The challenge is that this table is the table of the kingdom. And that we come here to be forgiven, to be renewed, to be strengthened, to go out and follow not the way of society, the way of Jesus. And may you find Jesus anew as you come to his table.